Hey everyone, let's get into our header components. This is a component I find that people just forget about making. So I have different variations of this header component. I'm going to go into my visual style and exploration section and pull out that little frame named headers. So I can show you some of the exploration that I did and where I ended up. So you'll notice here that we have base components. And the base components, as we know, is just a section where we can encompass one main component and not worry about changing, different things about it. Now, I decided to create like an action header component because there's so many variations of it that I don't want to change every single one all the time. Now, I have a bunch of, different containers in here. I have like an interactive container that has a button for filters. I have like a carousel container. I have a view all little like button, text button, and I have a cart icon. So I decided to, instead of having the profile on the top, I actually went ahead and put the cart at the top because it's very prominent right in the top right corner and persistent across all pages. Whereas in the navigation, sometimes it kind of gets a little lost around your fingers. So just a nice way to kind of bring attention to there. And I think like the profile can be secondary in this case. So I took that base component and created new components. If you look in the structure of like this one component here, you can see that it's referencing this base component over here. Now, when it comes to actually using these components, I have 5 different variations. Most of them are going to be used in like 1 or 2 instances where you have like maybe main page headers. And let's just grab an example over here. So you'll see them in, sections like this where you have like orders, or maybe on your profile section. We may have to think through that. So as I mentioned, another great part of this process is like going through your designs and picking out the bad just design practices, because it's easy to fall into the trap of like creating inconsistency through your designs. So as you can tell over here, I've decided, hey, I want to use profile like this in a back button, but that's not necessarily in line with how the other main navigation pieces work, where their navigation will always be available to them. So you have like orders here and you have like the wish list. So these are your main navigational pages, and that's where this is from, or this one if there's no login button. So I decided to opt out of using that avatar at the top right and decided to just put a cart there. So if I just grab this as an example, throw it over here, completely responsive. And now we just, going through the different types here. I have featured. So this is like for any featured designs. So something like this, where it's like, hey, this is like featured, like really big cards are mostly going to use that. And then I have my standard like homepage. When you arrive, you have the icon, and then you have the carts. Regular page where it's like a wish list or orders or profile. And then I have a view all. So these are kind of like secondary. We'll see them in things like maybe like deals. And then we have the filter. So things like search results and stuff like that. So if we go see some of our designs or explorations for search results, we'll see that we have like, something like this. And even here, like, we don't often use our Laura font, our font family for stuff like this, but I decided to use it while I was exploring and decided against it because, anything really like UI related where we're really trying to explain stuff, I'm going to use Inter over Laura. Laura is more decorative. So like for headings and these kind of other headings, I'm using Inter for. So just trying to, in this section, I'm using that, but, trying to create that level of consistency. Same thing with these overlay headers. So like when we have like the cart overlay, I'm just either showing that left icon or I'm hiding the right icon, and everything's set up in a way with like an auto layout container, you can see, and they aren't packed together. They're actually spaced between. So really easy to use for things like that. And I can show you some of the, options. So whether it's like the overlay of the search filter, or, going into like sections like this where we have like my interests. So there's different options there. Or categories, even using it at the very top, we can, modify it in a way where it's, oops, let me just grab that component. I'm gonna copy it and bring it here. So we can modify it in a way where we can even go in and, just hide certain things and, use this to say, I'm going to use like the left icon to go back, or arrow. So that is how, and you don't need to, I would urge you all to use components as best as possible, but you can go ahead and, use some of these in this type of way. So don't be afraid to like swap certain things out if you need to. And that's the great thing about components. I'll get into that after. And these are our headers.